The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Chairman, several colleagues have reiterated the quote from former Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel when he said, "You never want to let a serious crisis go to waste." They didn't go on to say what else he said, though. He said, "What I mean by that is that it's an opportunity to do things that you would not have been able to do before." So let's fast forward a little bit. Joe Biden, newly elected president, says, and I quote, "Just like we needed to be a unified nation to respond to COVID-19, we need a unified national response to climate change." Well, of course they do, because the majority needs a crisis upon which to build the foundation of the Green New Deal and the president's rush to green agenda. But this sort of rhetoric would come as a shock to Americans still reeling from the involuntary and compulsory COVID restrictions, lockdowns, and mandates that were forced upon them by local petty liberal tyrants who seemed gleeful about the emergency control that they could exercise. So is President Biden saying he wants to do the same thing for climate change? Now, to be clear, I'm not debating the validity of climate change, and Republicans are not climate deniers. I certainly am not. It's just that I believe we don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We don't have to destroy the reliability and resilience of our national energy grid and make every American pay significantly more for groceries and gasolines, more for the electricity to power businesses and our homes in order to address it. The point is that Republican solutions differ vastly from what the Democrats are proposing. Today, fossil fuels still provide over 90% of the world's energy, and America's natural gas is the cleanest on the planet. Republicans want to unleash even more exports of that cleaner American liquefied natural gas, causing carbon emissions to plunge wherever we send it. We want to unleash the next generation of carbon-free nuclear power. We want to preserve and expand American hydropower and foster innovation and adaptation at the scale needed to blunt the impact of harmful global climate change. But what's the solution from this administration? Well, over the summer, it was reported that the president, under pressure from radical environmentalists, was considering a climate emergency declaration to sidestep Congress and unlock vast executive powers to curtail oil and gas production, meddle with electricity generation, and fund green pet projects. And it turns out, and I've got the letter right here in my folder, signed by 9 Democrat members of this committee, that they agree. They signed this letter on July 20th, urging the president to declare a climate emergency by saying, quote, "Climate change is not only a crisis, but also an unprecedented opportunity." The majority's not really hiding the ball very well here. I mean, the game is up. The gig is up. And this should give every American pause, because if it's anything like the COVID-19 emergency, it's not going to be voluntary. Some leaders across the nation are already getting in on the action. For example, instead of working to build more reliable, affordable power generation in his state, the governor of California signed a law banning new internal combustion vehicle sales. And the next week, he tells everyone they need to avoid charging their electric car. Why? Because they don't have the energy to power them. In Colorado, tens of thousands of people were remotely locked out of adjusting their thermostats in the middle of a heat wave. And finally, we've seen years of some liberal states and localities in the United States banning natural gas hookups to homes and businesses, denying choice to consumers about how they heat their homes and cook their food. Mr. Chairman, these aren't actions to save energy. These are actions to mandate where we go, what we do, and how we live. It's not about carbon, it's about control. It's about controlling the lives of the American people, and it's a dangerous road to go down. Let's look at Europe. Switzerland and Spain are currently threatening to jail citizens who keep their homes too cool in the summer or too warm this upcoming winter. And the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, announced just last week a plan for, and I quote, "a mandatory target to, quote, flatten the curve, to reduce electricity consumption." Flatten the curve? Sounds very familiar. Mr. Chairman, I don't believe Americans will do this again. President Biden should think twice about emulating liberal governors and European technocrats. So my ROI is simple. It requests that the administration provide Congress all the documents related to this national climate emergency plan, the authorities the president thinks he has should he carry it out, and also the comments that he sought from federal agencies who would ultimately implement such a strategy. My ROI should also serve as a warning that from here on out, any such actions will be met with rigorous oversight from us on the Republican side of this committee. So let's do the right thing, Mr. Chairman. I urge my colleagues to back this measure, and with that, I yield back.